Hello and welcome to our second 3D concrete competition. As you can see, we have 2.0. In the last part of the presentation, we will also show how the first one looked. But this is a design competition, which means that we will be basically working more on design than actual printing in this competition. And today we will just announce the registrations. So you haven't missed anything, and the registrations will be open for 3 weeks. To go very specifically, you can register till 22nd of October, and this is also when the first lecture will take place. To register, you have to go to this site. There is a table where you form in where you are studying, if you are a student, etc. And then you register, and you should be able to participate later in the practical workshops. So what this competition entails mostly is we want to find out how to split and connect an existing sculpture. It will be quite large, almost 3 meters high. And in order for it to be assemblable by humans, it needs to have specific weight limit. So that we will communicate more in the next upcoming lectures. But basically, the most important terms is splitting and connecting. So not only you divide the sculpture, but you also connect. This will be the actual file that we will send to you, and you can choose any way you want in order to make it printable. How it looks in real world. So this is the sculpture 1.0. So the first LabLab is this RTU talisman, which is the spaceman that is printed in concrete. So the first one is a bit simpler because it was only a standing sculpture, and you can see here that there are some parts that are divided, and we tried to aim that no part is heavier than 100 kilograms, etc. And we still ended up using some lifting mechanisms in order to put it up. And you can see here there are some of these braces that connect the parts together. However, we will have a separate lecture where we'll go more through in detail how we built the previous sculpture, what lessons we learned in order for you to find out a better solution. The lecture topics in these upcoming 3 months will be modeling for 3D printing, specifically 3D concrete printing, how to prepare files for 3D concrete, and also splitting and connecting, as well as engineering for sculptures. And here are some of the lectures. We will have more, but the most topics is that there is half amount of lectures and half of amount of professional consultations, which basically means that after we will send the model to you, when the registrations close, you can also ask us direct questions, also show to these experts your work in progress file, and we will help you make it into the 3D concrete printable sculpture element. So the lecturers, the closest lecturers, and one of them is here today with us too, or actually two if you count myself. We have Maris Schenke from RTU 3D Concrete Printing Laboratory. Slava Markin is from SICA, a business development manager. I myself, I am an architect that works for SIA Princeton, and they just split two startups that are aiming to revolutionize 3D concrete printing. And we also have Nicolas Predella from Italy, who is 3D modeling generalist. He has written some scripts that help you automatically check how good your 3D modeled parts will perform when actual printing is being initiated. The most important part is that this is the second competition, so we already have some lectures. For those of you who want to be more informed, you can basically find some study material on YouTube if you go to Creative Tuesdays. Here you can see how the playlist looks. In total, there are 22 videos, so it's quite a lot of material. But here we selected 8 lectures that we think are the most important to revisit. So the very introductions, and usually we try not to repeat ourselves too much. So in upcoming lectures, we will be more going into details for the specific task. But if you are a beginner or first time to 3D concrete printing, these are really valuable. So the first one is Intro to 3D Concrete Printing by Maris. And the second one is kind of this workshop part where you can see how these workshops happen. And also it's really good to see on real case studies where Maris comments and shows what improvements have to be made to models. So the general basics haven't changed over those last 2 years. And if you are also new to 3D printing as well, then we would also recommend watching the lectures by Juris Kljava, which is kind of this traditional 3D printing. They are not exactly the same, but some of the concepts transfer. So it's good to also understand just traditional 3D printing before you fully move to 3D concrete printing. And this preparing files and optimizing files are two very important topics to make sure that your files are printable. When you print in plastics, you can afford to waste some material. When you print in concrete, that can be several tons of material, or also your failures are a lot more visible and more expensive. So if you delve into deeper topics, then there are 4 additional lectures. This 3D concrete print review is where together Maris and Juris comments on student works from the previous competition. And there is also a really good lecture from Maris on preparing files for 2D concrete printing. I would say if you only watch one lecture, then this probably is the most important one because it covers all the topics on what the Maris printer is capable at. Currently, it is probably a little bit bigger than when we recorded lecture 2 years ago, but mainly all the concepts still are relevant and the dimensions and specifications are applicable. And the other most important one would probably be just Intro to 3D Concrete Printing. That would also be a good one to watch. And if you are more interested into details and specifics, advanced topics, then these last 2 lectures, the first one is on 3D construction printing. So from Dr. Fabian Meyer-Brotz from Perry Group. So he was the head at that time of research, I think still is, and he already shows some larger structures that can be built and what systems they use. And Eva Zena from Socrates had a really good lecture on 3D print dry mix development process. And with this sculpture, when we move to 3D printing in full scale, and that will be after the competition, it's interesting to know what type of materials and finishes are available to make your 3D concrete more hydrophobic, etc. The prize pool for this 3-month competition is 2,000 euros in scholarships before taxes. So basically, there is a little bit of difference. If you're a local student, then I think you don't even have to pay the taxes. If you're someone from abroad, there probably needs to be some income tax that needs to be paid. It also depends if you're a student in RTU or other university. Everyone can participate, but just know that the sum is full price pool. We currently look at probably 3 main prices, but that will be announced a bit later when we see how many of you register. Maybe also some company will come over and we will increase the price pool, but this is currently where it stands. The evaluation criteria, this is the most important slide today. So there are only 3 criteria we will evaluate you on. The first one is just the split design, how good your sculpture looks when you assemble it. So architecture part. The second one is material efficiency, probably the most important one. So basically, when you split the sculpture in several elements to be later assembled, it is important that you use material efficiency, and each cut either adds material or removes it. So it's important that you make it in a structurally logical way. And the last, but not the least important one is ease of assembly. So when we cut elements, it's also important to somehow connect them together. In previous sculpture, we used bent rods, threaded rods, and some nuts that got screwed onto. And in this one, who knows? This one is a bit more advanced because it's not only standing, it's sitting, and it has a protruding element as the backpack. But all that we will discuss in the first real lecture. So today we only announced the competition. But these are the 3 main criteria. You can write them down. Do not forget, this is where you can excel and show that you are the best at designing for 3D concrete manufacturing. So the full time frame of this competition is only 3 months. And then we will have a follow-up where you also can at some point follow up how the sculpture gets realized. It doesn't necessarily mean that the winning design will be realized, but it means that the winning design will get a prize. And why we organize it, we have some methodology how we split the designs ourselves, but we always think it's good to compare, and maybe someone can find or invent an even better method to do it. Because when you print something in concrete and you do it in laboratory or in manufacturing place, it's important to transport it. And then we really realize that there is very few ways how we can do that without splitting the elements in smaller pieces, and then you need to connect them. So we really believe that this splitting and connecting is one of the most important technologies that need to be developed and researched in order to enable faster adoption of 3D concrete in scale. So the current estimated timeline after the competition is that we will start test prints in the first part of next year. And during summer, we already aim to start this assembly and manufacturing of the pieces. But what relates to this competition, we aim to have finals around New Year. So we will see with session times, so it doesn't overlap with exams. And the finals just mean that you submit the file in the folder, and the jury will evaluate who has the best design, the best material efficiency, and the best connection. So hypothetically, you could submit the file a day after registering for the competition, but we really believe that this consultation with experts and also listening to the lectures can provide you with some better feedback and also increase your chances of winning. This is the participant WhatsApp group. Some of you already come from there. For those who are watching later online, this is the link where you can join. And this is where basically we announce all the news. So if you're afraid to miss out on something, this is the most important link. After that, there is this Facebook group. It's called 3D Concrete News. We do share there's some other case studies and examples where someone has done a great job of 3D printing or 3D concrete design. So if you need some inspiration, that's a good place to visit. And the next lecture that we will be providing, it will be already a full lecture, is making of most loved 3D concrete sculpture, how we have dearlingly called it. It's the LabLab 010. And so why we called it most loved, because a lot of 3D concrete samples or benches, you print it and people forget about it. But this one has started a life of its own. So you can see people do a lot of photos with it. It has a lot of accessories. And the next lecture, we will basically go through with people who were involved in its design and manufacturing, how it was designed, what challenges we tackled while we were doing it, and how you can learn for it when you design your own sculpture for the second iteration. And the most important part in this lecture, we will also provide you with the files. So currently we opened the registration, but the files, and by the way, the author for the files is here today with us, Leonard. Hi, Leonard. So yeah, that we will send to you on the first lecture. So it's on 22nd of October at the same time as today online. And I guess that's mostly it. So we try to keep it very brief, and we also can offer you some questions. So if anyone has a question, for those who are watching online, you will be able to type it in comments, or for those who are here on Zoom, you can ask in person. Before we go there, we will give some words to Maris Shinka, the head of 3D Concrete Laboratory, also the, the main reason why this competition is happening. So large applause, virtual applause to Maris, and the microphone and floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Matis, and hello to everyone who is joining today or will watch this online. Few things I wanted to add regarding the next lecture. Definitely, we will talk about LabLab 1.0, and we will also talk a little bit more about the task itself, as not only the files, but the actual task, how you should submit it, how it should look, what are the main crucial points. Those will be covered in the next lecture. One other thing, yes, I wanted to mention that this competition is also a part of a larger European Union funded scientific project that Riga Technical University is a coordinator of. So it's a mRNA project, program project, transforming waste into highly high value 3D printable cementitious composites. And in that project, it's a three-year project where we try to find ways how to substitute cement in 3D printable mixtures. We are 4 partners in the project, so it's Riga Technical University and Sakret dry mix producer from Latvia, so 2 partners from Latvia, Kaunas Technical University, and Slovenian National Building Institute. So in this international project, yes, we try to develop these new materials, and we also want to test them. So this sculpture that we are planning here to build is actually our main test object, and that was the aim of ours, to develop a material, then to see more innovative ways how we can print it, how we can assemble it, and then actually to print it and to see how it performs in real life. So in this case, yes, the sculpture itself will also not only be built with innovative methods, but also with innovative materials. Thus, well, it's yes, some added bonus. Yes, those are the main things I wanted to mention. Mostly everything else will be in the next lecture and in upcoming lectures. I would highly recommend, yes, when Matti showed, I definitely highly recommend also to look at our previous lectures regarding 3D printing. Only thing, yes, the dimensions of the print object have changed during the years that we will specify during the next lecture. But definitely the main principles of printing direction, what you should avoid or consider when you are designing, splitting, and thinking how to connect it. Definitely the previous lectures, our competition process was also a learning process for ourselves. So we found a lot of things that do work, and we found a lot of things that do not work. Thus, this is a chance for us not to repeat the old mistakes. So definitely go watch that. Regarding the participants, I would encourage students not to be afraid. Maybe Mattis put it. It might seem that you need to be a professional 3D modeling, 3D concrete. I don't know. Those specialists are only few in the world, so no. I think that if you are enthusiasts in either 3D printing or in construction, I think this is a good competition for you, because it's not only a competition; it's a more of a learning and a journey, common journey, and learning something new. And that's why I would highly suggest everybody who is interested to join. So yes, from
Like
my
a live
side,
live
thank you.
streamed live streamed think tank with some motivation and a structure.
Yeah. Yes. So thank you, Matis, and we can do the questions and answers, and see you all in 3 weeks.
So we have one question about teams. So basically about teams, you don't, and first, yeah, thank you to Maris. So about teams, yeah, this is individual competition. So you join as individual. If you want to join forces with someone else, you of course can do it, but the winner will be one in that capacity, like in each category we will announce, and you can split your award with someone else. But overall, it is not really built as a team competition this time, so everyone can join individually. If you want to form a team, you can, but also one person is totally fine, so you do not need to find a team to participate. So that's the good news. And for this introductory, the only question for complete beginners, we would really recommend to watch some lectures that we showed earlier, because otherwise it might be a little bit hard to jump in. But otherwise, hypothetically, you can design the splits of the parts even on paper. You know, you just show and then do a technical drawing how they connect together. So it's not highly advanced, but it is very crucial and important challenge how to best fit them together. I think Maris wanted to add some comment. No?
Yes, I am still optimistic that we will have so many participants that there might be that we will join you in teams or ask you to join in teams if there will be too much participant, because our capacity to actually evaluate in these during the lectures are also limited. We cannot go through 20 works. No, we will limit. So it will depend on the amount of participants. At start, yes, it's more individual. Although I would suggest to go, or I would go for a team, because it will take some time to do the task. But yes, it depends, but mostly individual.
From the experience of the previous challenge, so what helped for LabLab 1.0 So that we had some people who were more technically inclined that did this programming and the 3D modeling of the parts. And then we also had a team member from Art Academy who was the author of design, how you split it so it looks also aesthetically pleasing. And what from these three criteria, one is design. So I would say yes, probably that is a very good comment that although individuals can do a lot, sometimes having extra skill sets can help. And then that's something to keep in mind. Otherwise, what else from the questions? I think that was it from written chat questions. Do we have something else? If you want to ask a question, you just raise your hand and we will give you an opportunity to ask. If not, then see you all on 22nd. So do we have any questions? Seems that everyone is happy, which means either everyone understood everything or nothing, which I hope the first one. And then let's see you all quite soon in 3 weeks for the first lecture on how we built the first LabLab and designed it. And otherwise, try to think about maybe some teammates. Absolutely, definitely register, as teams can also be formed later. And let's start this journey of building a brother for the first concrete sculpture. Let's hope it will be even more loved than the first one. Okay, thank you and goodbye.
Bye.